Hey guys, it's Rusty Nelson, your college art professor, and we're talking watercolor today. This is vlog 77, episode 40, it looks like. So, hey, good to see everybody. Hey, we've had a cold snap here in the Midwest, so it's gotten cool, starting to break out our sweaters and our jackets, and it's been a long Indian summer, so we've had a lot of different types of weather recently, but it is now starting to cool off. The trees are just starting to change a little bit, starting to get some color to them. So, hey, welcome to this episode, and I'm glad everybody's tuned in. If you're just discovering this channel, this channel is dedicated to getting people up and working with drawing and watercolor, especially those people who are approaching retirement or are neck deep in retirement. I'm on my way into retirement in a few short months. I've been teaching in higher education for the last 28 years and soon to retire. And I wanted to bring the things that I like teaching in my program up at the university that I do with my 20-year-old students. I come in from high school, a lot of them really never having taken any art courses before, but they're interested in doing something in a creative field, and we get them up and running within a few short months, be it the fall semester or the spring semester, ready to move into their studio areas. I teach in graphic design, but they also go into the studio arts, painting and printmaking and things like that. So anyway, I am old enough that I learned all of the things in graphic design in the traditional methods and things that had been done for decades and decades. And then immediately upon starting my career working in advertising, the world shifted and I went through my first disruption, technological disruption, which was desktop publishing. And that was pretty earth-shattering set of events that kind of set the tone for the rest of my career, where I'm constantly learning new stuff, digital stuff, combining the traditional with the digital, and now it's ultimately everything's kind of winding up, even being done completely digitally. So if you're a new viewer, that's kind of what we're doing here in my background a little bit on what's going on. Been doing it for about 2 years, coming up on my 2-year anniversary in January, and really just thought this would be a fun thing to do in retirement and bringing my skills in education that I learned teaching these 20-year-olds and the things I learned in college, working in advertising and working in higher education, bringing them out there and providing them for people interested in starting a creative journey. So I have some new videos coming up. The last week's video was a tree, aspen tree in a nice little scene and setting. It was kind of fun. It was I had a viewer request from someone who wanted to see some more trees. So this one was definitely fun. I like painting fall colors and trees, and if you are interested in getting started in landscapes, oh man, you can't go wrong doing it with watercolor. I remember getting started with acrylics and oils and trying to do landscapes with those, and it was just always so stiff. I could never get loosened up. It wasn't until I started painting with wet media that it finally clicked and allowed me to start loosening up. So that's one of my desires as an artist. I see a lot of artists that I admire, and I like looking at their work and I like watching how they do it as well, which has been a boon with YouTube, being able to actually see these artists produce their work. That I finally made the commitment and went completely over to transparent watercolor, and it just opened up a whole set of new doors and subject matter for me to work with, and landscape being one of them. I used to hate landscapes. They were just one of the worst things ever to do. But now, with my understanding and the work I've done with watercolor in the last 10 years, it really has kind of given me a whole new lease on subject matter and technique and things I want to try and work with, and then be able to bring that to my students up at the university, or now to everybody out on YouTube. So that's the thing with the trees. I was doing that. I'm going to have some more drawing, figure drawing, and face drawing tutorials coming up. Some charcoals, I think, is what I'm going to be working with. And again, just keep everybody practicing and getting their hand developed at drawing those figures, drawing those faces, and working your way through all the issues that come to play when you're working with faces and figures. So it isn't something that a formula will fix. It'll help, it'll give you structure and things to work with, but you do have to get in there and really practice and work on developing hand-eye skills, recognizing shapes and values and modeling and all of these things. I mean, it's like juggling flaming axes and spinning plates all at the same time, because there are so many different skill sets that you have to manage. And I think I talked about this last session. The first thing you really do have to master is mark making, and that typically starts with drawing. So if you are wanting to get started, figure drawing, drawing with faces, really start with making interesting marks. As soon as you are able to create a mark that has character, that communicates a whole range of things just with a simple stroke, that's when you're really going to start making some progress with all the other things you're doing. I've seen a lot of different people sketching and drawing out on Instagram or YouTube or in Facebook, drawing with pencils. I tend to think with my classes up at the university, we do most of our drawing classes using Conte or charcoal, not a lot of pencil, mainly because pencil it's kind of labor intensive, especially if you're working in a fairly good size scale. And that's typically what we do up there with the students, is to work with like an 18 by 24 inch newsprint pad, just to force them out of their comfort zones. They may have worked only at maybe 11 by 14, 8.5 by 11 inch size. So to throw them into the deep end of the pool with a large scale newsprint pad and some charcoal, which is not a very forgiving control media at all. You can learn it, but it gets everybody out of their comfort zone if they have had art in high school. But it also just develops good skills with those who are coming in fresh as well. So it's easier to model with. You get a lot of nice gray tones and value ranges with charcoal and Conte. That takes a little more work with pencil. So that's kind of what I'll be doing in some upcoming videos real soon. It's Halloween's coming up. About time for a Halloween tutorial as well as something. I think I did Frankenstein last year. That was my first attempts in YouTube, I think, to try to catch some likenesses. And again, I've been working with drawing and watercolor and painting and illustrating for my whole career. Was very interested in it in college, and I still, mainly because I haven't worked on it enough, I still just catch a random likeness. I can get a fairly close and a pretty nice looking face drawn, but if it's really going to be being done that it has to look like a person, I have to use other techniques other than just my sheer skills at drawing faces and everything. The Loomis method, the Riley method, all those things help, and it gives you a good sense of structure, but it boils down to just doing it with flair, doing it with character. And if the intent is to do a very nice portrait of a specific person, then yeah, you have to kind of work on those skills and hone those up, or find other means, other methods and or cheats to get to that point. And because I've done a lot of portraits in my career over the years, and I think I mentioned this, if you can't do it by sheer observation, get a photograph. There are a number of ways of getting that likeness transferred to your paper, that then all you have to really work with is controlling value and your technique and your confidence going into it. So, but that's always been one of my goals, working with the students up in class and up at the university, to get good enough that I can catch a likeness just by sitting there and observing and drawing it out. And it's a task. It's not easy. It's not something that will happen consistently accidentally. You really do have to understand your proportions and your spacings and your measurements and things for those faces to look right. So, oh, I did have a comment. Somebody wanted me to do a color pencil tutorial, and I have worked with color pencils, and I worked with color pencils a lot back in college, and they were fairly long and involved pieces, and they weren't that big, maybe a 11 by 14 probably is the maximum size, maybe something a little bigger, not much. But boy, oh boy, I tell you, they take a lot of time and effort to get them to come up with the saturation and the richness involved in that. So I really haven't used them to any great extent as an art making medium. I actually use color pencils more with doing marker comps back in the days before computers, when we had to comp up everything that was going to go into a design, the type, the illustrations, the graphics, and the photographs. Everything had to be drawn and markered up. And I would use color pencils as kind of the modeling. If I wanted to get a kind of a nice soft gradient and a color transition in an area of marker color, that's when I'd break out the color pencils. And I'd use color pencils quite a bit for highlights, color highlights or pure white highlights and things like that. So yeah, it's really not my forte. I have done various. I could definitely do them and show you something on how to work with them in regards to and in combination with marker comps. So, but yeah, still working on trying to get those faces and figures. Several of the previous drawing sessions I've had with figures, those things, I know I haven't done any lately, but what I did in those basic mannequin and basic shapes, that just something that you repeat constantly. Every day you want to get better at figure drawing, sit down and do an hour, 2-hour session of just warming up with mannequins for maybe 15 to 20 minutes, and then work up with quick gestures and mass drawings of the figures, and then set yourself maybe a 30-minute pose or working with a photographic reference. If you're lucky enough to have people, it does make a difference. You can definitely learn to draw figures and things with photographs. It's kind of a nice cheat, mainly because when you're working with live models, you have to get a whole different set of skills developed in locking in the pose and figuring out where everything is very quickly, because models move. No matter how much they try not to, over time, the pose starts to drift and kind of relax, or it just changes. So you have to learn real quick to lock in the pose quickly, and then just accept the fact that the figure's moving, and that you're going to have to use the figure then as just a data point. You're no longer trying to replicate it specifically, because it's changed. So you have to go back to what you locked it in at. So anyway, that's always a goal of mine, is get better at figure drawing and drawing faces. And in addition to working with my watercolor, my digital painting, and all the other things I love doing, the 3D modeling and animation stuff. So a lot of different irons in the fire. And if you're anything like me, you're going to have time available to you soon, or you already do. So there's a lot of different ways you can take these interests that you have in being creative and apply those creative urges. So, but anyway, hey, I've been going on for about 15 minutes. So I do appreciate everybody coming in and listening to me today. And if you got any value out of today's talk, please give me a like and a subscribe, and send it out to anybody who might be interested in getting started with drawing and watercolor. Send them to the channel. I hope we'll be able to get them up and running and started. Head over to the video description. It'll take you over to my website. I have all sorts of free resources that you can download and delve in. Some PDFs with Loomis method, drawing hands and faces and figure for all it's worth. I've got some Bridgman downloads, some Riley method information out there, along with a whole host of links of brushes and paints and ink pens, papers, and all sorts of stuff there. That'll kick you over to Amazon. They are affiliate links, so if you buy anything there, I'll get a small commission. And if you think I'm doing anything on the channel that's worthy of your support, head over to Patreon. Link is in the description as well. And give me a $5 a month membership to kind of keep me going, help me upgrade my my equipment as I need to. And I do have 2 digital products out on Gumroad. That link is in the description as well for beginner to intermediate. It's a course calendar. So it's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you would go in and you'd see a set of videos you could watch and then practice doing those. And typically it's like spend 12 hours a week on those exercises from Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that would equate essentially to what you would do in a college level course. All right, so it's a 15-week calendar of those types of things. Or I have a digital product. It's expanded upon that idea of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday sequence of days you work on this stuff for a 12-hour work week for getting better at your watercolor skills. And it's also got a little more in-depth information, goals, and objectives for each week. So get out there if you're interested and buy those 2 digital products. Any support you guys can offer in any of those ways is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you next week talking watercolor.